individual who's going to lead us in that pledge. So Casey France, come on up. Pull the microphone down to you. Step up on the, I think there's a step stool there. Yeah, pull the microphone down. If we could have the audience rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Casey. That was outstanding. Now on our agenda is the time we have citizen comments. We have a group of students here from Canyon School District. It's a group presentation, so we'll forego the 3-minute time limit because it's a group. And I think Mrs. Slater, you're going to introduce the group?
Good evening. My name is Annalisa Slater. I have the privilege of serving the community as a 4th grade teacher at Butler Elementary. And,
That is my alma mater, I must announce. Yeah.
Fantastic. I had these kids approach me with this great idea, something that I've been really passionate about for quite some time, and I'm going to let them tell you all about it. So we'll start with Annabelle.
My name is Annabelle Cheney, and we are a group of students from the Canyon School District. Represented tonight are Butler, Ridgecrest, and Canyon View Elementaries. Last month, we addressed the school board in our quest to remove styrofoam from the lunchroom, and they've agreed to move the matter to the top of their agenda for the next school year. We also had the opportunity to share our story on KRCL 90.9 FM. Our story was also featured on the front page of this month's Cottonwood Journal. We thank you for the opportunity to now speak to you.
Good evening. My name is Aggie Deagle, and I'm a 3rd grader at Butler Elementary. One night at dinner, my family and I were talking, and Earth Day came up in the conversation. We were trying to think of something that would make a real difference for the Earth on Earth Day. We talked about how Butler uses styrofoam trays for lunchtime and how bad this is for the environment. We knew this was a problem, but my dad always says you can't complain about a problem unless you have a solution. We decided to come up with a solution. We talked about different solutions, but we thought since the school already had reusable trays, all we needed was a dishwasher. We made a petition to get willing students to take 15 minutes off their lunch recess to wash dishes. I knew I had to get permission first, so one day my principal was at lunch and I asked if I could talk with him. He said yes, so he took me to his office. I told him about the problem, solution, and the petition. He loved all of it, but then he told me that kids are not allowed in the cooking area for safety reasons, but maybe he could wash dishes on Earth Day. And he did. I felt happy that I made a difference and that Mr. Nallwalker took the time to listen to me. But while it was great for one day, we still use styrofoam every day, so we didn't fix the problem.
Hi, I'm Evelyn, and I'm a 4th grade student council representative at Butler Elementary. I had an idea to start a school-wide petition against using styrofoam lunch trays. I realized that there are many kids buying school lunch each day, throwing out their styrofoam trays, making tons of waste. 30% of landfill space is styrofoam, and landfills are filling up quickly. Styrofoam can end up floating in the ocean, harming marine animals. It pollutes the environment, and it does not biodegrade for at least 500 years. Also, I'm concerned about styrofoam harming students' health. The World Health Organization stated that styrofoam contains styrene that can probably cause cancer in humans. In all, 530 students signed the petition to say let's stop using styrofoam. That's 85% of the total students at Butler. Let's stop using styrofoam and teach kids the valuable lesson of helping the environment. Please help me make this important change. Thank you.
My name is Miles France, and I am in second grade at Canview Elementary. Students at Canview Elementary agree that we should use reusable plastic trays in our school cafeteria. Over the last 2 weeks, I've collected close to 200 signatures at my school on a petition asking you and the school board please support this change. The students at Canview stand with Butler, and we all stand for the health of the planet.
Hello, my name is Georgia Michael and I go to Ridgecrest. To help what we are trying to do, we can hire someone to help wash dishes like a special needs person. Rather than having styrofoam trays, we can use plastic reusable trays or we can use biodegradable trays. But these need to compost, not send them to the landfill.
Good evening. I am Skylar Hawk Slater. I am in 4th grade at Butler Elementary. The environment is very important to me and my family. I was actually born on Earth Day 10 years ago, and I love that I get to share that special day. But I believe Earth Day should be celebrated every day. Every day. Like E and Earth, there are 4 other E words that can be respected if we stop using styrofoam. The first word is environment. We all know about the reason it's harmful to our environment to use styrofoam. The second word is economy. It's more economical in the long run to find sustainable practices in schools. The third word is education. We need to offer more STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math in our schools. Using renewables resources and our Butler vegetable garden is a great way to help teach STEM in our school. The final E word is equity. I think this is perhaps most important. We can promote social equity by hiring people to work in our schools who might be in need of learning special skills. They can wash the dishes and learn these skills. It's a win-win. It's socially and environmentally inequitable for us in affluent Cottonwood Heights to shift the burden to other communities. We need to stop using styrofoam. We are at the mouth of Big and Little Cottonwood canyons. Just like the water flowing out of the canyons, our actions will flow into the surrounding communities.
So here is what we ask for. Show support for our student effort when you work with members of the Canyon School District. Encourage council members from other cities in our school district to do the same. And the use of styrofoam in the city-operated buildings and at city-sponsored events. Encourage businesses in Cottonwood Heights to end the use of styrofoam in their opinions. Thank you for your attention and support of our ideas.
Let's try that again.
Try it again. Well, just quickly, and I'll allow other members of the council to respond, and I think it deserves a response. First of all, I want the young people to realize that it's possible. You can change the world, and we listen. In a pre-meeting before we came in here, 2 of our guests were 2 members of the school board, and they mentioned to us that you had visited them. And they mentioned to us also that because of your visit, they're going to be evaluating their use of styrofoam containers and trays, etc., in the Canyon School District. Also because of the efforts of young people like yourself, and I think it's a story I heard of what happened in Morningside Elementary over in Granite School District on idling. As a city, during this current budget process, we've allocated money in one of our hiring positions to have someone who will be working with other cities nearby us in coordinating sustainability issues. So it's all because of these efforts that those changes are taking place. So we applaud you and encourage you to continue speaking as a group and individually about these types of issues. Any comments from the council? I mean, I know you're all passionate about this.
Hi,
Yeah.
Councilmember Michael. Thank you so much for coming and being here with us tonight. I do want to offer a word of advice. No great effort gets accomplished without a lot of hard work, and you've started this hard work at the last board meeting and here today, but I encourage you to keep going. I encourage you to go to other school board members. Don't stop, because if you stop, they may not remember. So please keep going. Don't give up, persevere, and you will make this change. Thanks.
You guys did a fantastic job tonight. I thought your points were really articulate and well thought out, and they make so much common sense. And I want you to know that I, as a city council person, I've got your back.
Okay. Any other comments?
I would just say that what you've done here tonight is the kind of thing that changes the world. You talked about your hope that you could change the world by your efforts, and it is efforts like these that do. And so good for you. What a great thing to be a young person and willing to stand up and do something scary and try to make a difference. So thank you. Appreciate your efforts.
I hope we weren't too scary, but no, I applaud your efforts. I think it's a point that should have been brought up. I also hope any of you that go to Butler Elementary go past that great big long table they have that's loaded full of backpacks and coats and all other things, and don't leave anything at school this year.
All right. Thank you once again, and we hope to see you again. And we won't make you stay if you need to leave. Or you can stay a minute. We have one more speaker or person who'd like to make public comment, and that's Tim Halbeck. Tim, you want to come up?
I'll forgo that. Okay, just for the record, this was not prearranged. I had no idea these kids were going to be here. This was my single talking point before I listened to the business meeting tonight. I was going to ask the city council, send a request to all food businesses in the greater Cottonwood Heights area, that the ones that are not already using fully biodegradable containers, that they volunteer to switch to the ones that are there.
Oh, wow.
There you go. And this is, now, I've been in the bar and restaurant business, as you know. They are about twice as expensive, 2 cents versus 1 cent. Okay, it's not that big a deal. But this would include all cups, plates, straws, to-go containers, serving trays, and other things. We can even provide, there are a number, there's Restaurant Depot and a number of other places that are local businesses, not necessarily to Cottonwood Heights, but to Salt Lake City in general, that already sell these things, and they sell them in bulk. And so the switchover would be pretty easy. But I'm asking that you guys ask the local businesses to volunteer to do this rather than mandated. I think that would be a very nice gesture, and I bet the ones that already don't do it, a lot of the Thai restaurants and some of the other places, sushi restaurants, already do it. They're fully biodegradable. The ones that don't, McDonald's and some of the other chains, let's ask them to do that and see what happens. I think that would be it. On some of the other such things, not having to do with the kids here today, high density, I'll say it again, I actually counted, it's the 8th time. Higher density means higher crime, higher traffic. We need to not go against the general plan. There are a couple things that are on the agenda, I think, tonight or for the next meeting that are going against the general plan. I would ask that we don't approve those. Stick to the plan. It was a good plan. It's been a good plan for about 12 years now. Why do we want to change away from that? From the small cell transmission tower agreement that you guys are going to consider as well. I'm going to repeat my request that we get a map of all the transmission towers in the greater Cottonwood Heights area for all those communication points, just so we know. All right, and we are with that. And lastly, when it comes to the lobby and the room rentals, and it comes to Butlerville Days, it sounds like you guys are leaning towards maybe we should allow alcohol. maybe we should allow, if they have the right insurance, $1 million, $2 million insurance, maybe if they pay the right fees. I'm saying we've gone this long without having food trucks that serve alcohol, without having Butlerville Days with alcohol, without having events here that serve alcohol. Why change it? Things are working. The one negative thing I'll say is you guys never consulted during that entire meeting before this meeting, these two gentlemen to my left, all right? The assistant chief and the chief of police. I would think that their opinion should matter on this, and I think that we've gone this long without alcohol. Let's just keep it that way. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Tim. All right, that's the only speaker cards I have. Anyone else who would like to address the council that did not submit the card? Hearing none. We'll proceed on the agenda. We have some action items. Again, you're welcome to stay, but I won't be offended if anybody feels they need to leave, because we'll be going for a while. Yeah. All right, the first item of action is consideration of ordinance 323-A, approving a general plan amendment for real property located at 3662, 3742, and 3804 East North Little Cottonwood Road, from residential rural density to residential low density. So Mike, I'll let you introduce this.
Just a brief recap. This is a request for both a general plan land use map amendment from residential rural density to residential low density, as well as a zone map amendment from RR 143, which is single family 1 acre minimum lot size, to R 115. We presented at a previous meeting in the work session and discussed this multiple times. So unless there are further questions, I will turn the time back over to the mayor and council. If you have questions for the applicant, he is here as well tonight.
I just ask really question. Some key differences between a rural density, low density, not lot size. I know animals are big.
Yeah, I think the
in those two.
agricultural component beyond lot size, which I think is the biggest difference impact-wise, but there's an agricultural component in a rural residential zone where you can have small, medium, and large livestock, some
Horses,
agricultural
cows,
use.
llamas.
Correct.
That are not allowed in a standard R.
In the single R1 zones, that's correct.
Any further questions of Mike? All right. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion of approving the general plan amendment.
I move that we approve ordinance 323A.
This has been moved by Councilman Shelton, Councilmember Shelton. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Bracken. Any further discussion?
I would like to say that the rezone of the general plan is inconsistent with our master plan. In that area, it calls for lower density. The sensitive lands overlay also supports lower density. So I will not support that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I would maybe just reiterate that it's a weighty thing to make a general plan amendment. It's not to be taken lightly.
Okay.
It is, and I agree with that. Although I also note that the area all to the west, in the Sandy, there is a lot of very similar zones. So I guess I would suggest that the general plan that we adopted 14 years ago was not perfect. We made various changes to it. We have the ability to do that.
I think if we'd like to change the zoning on this, we should first take a look at the general plan like we've been talking about for the last 2 years. We have not made any efforts to update the general plan, and I think that this type of rezoning is going to continue to be asked of us for every parcel in our city, and if we don't update our general plan to really focus on what we want to do. I feel uncomfortable again, as I did on the last plan amendment, to continue to vote for this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Michael.
No.
Councilmember Bruce.
No.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. And I'll make the comment, it's a tough decision. Reading the minutes from the Planning Commission, reading the report from staff, looking at what that group feels is that this general plan amendment would be consistent with the principles and goals of our general plan. I think the value of using the sensitive land ordinance to mitigate some of my personal concerns, and that if you look directly to the north, it's directly compatible with the zoning in that area. I have a bigger concern when we move across Little Cottonwood Road personally. With that, item 323-D, we will not hear that. That'll be a moot point. And we'll now move to 3.2, which is consideration of ordinance 324-A, approving the rezone of the real property at these same addresses from RR 1-43 rural residential to R115 residential single family, which is still low density. Any discussion on that consideration?
I guess I'll voice my opposition to this again and point out that the Planning Commission member who represents District 4 also voted against this. She's, I believe, an architect, probably understands zoning better than I do, certainly. And I think we should heed those planning commissioners in the district of the development.
Any further discussion on 324-A, approving the rezone? Hearing none, I'd consider a motion.
Mike Johnson, that was a 5-2. I think that I'd move that we approve ordinance 324-A.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bracken.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shelton. Any further discussion?
I guess I'll say it one more time. I think as a council, we need to seriously consider changing our general plan amendments and then the zoning decisions that follow. And I would look to us to make a definitive decision on our general plan update as soon as possible before we continuously amend our general plan and therefore our zoning.
Okay.
I concur with Councilmember Michael. It feels a bit like spot zoning.
All right. Appreciate those comments.
I'm going to agree. We had hoped to be able to get our general plan budget for next year. For the current year, that did not happen. We were hoping to get it in there next year, the next fiscal year. It needs to happen. The comprehensive review is necessary. That does take a lot of time. And it's very intensive, having gone through it once. Again, we didn't get it perfect the first time, and at the same time, I don't know that it would be completely fair. Where at least in my opinion, it does seem consistent with what the neighboring areas have been going. To have them wait an additional 2 to 3 years for a decision, so they, as every other property owner, have the right to request. I would agree with that. I think I understood what the mayor said. On the other side of the street, I probably feel.
I guess I'll make my last plea, and that is that if you looked at the comments from community members in the adjacent neighborhood, their claim was that they received notice 10 days before this meeting, and I question whether we got all of the comments that we could have gotten from the adjacent landowners.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken.
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce,
No.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Michael.
No.
And I will vote yes, based upon the same comments that I said regarding the general plan amendment. Moving forward to item 3.3, consideration of ordinance 325, approving entry into a master license agreement with Crown Castle. This is those small cell towers. I know we've had a presentation on that in our work session and in previous sessions previously. Tim, anybody want to introduce that quickly, what that is?
I'll defer to Shane just to outline this.
Okay.
In its 2018 general session, the Utah legislature enacted something called the Small Cell Deployment Act, which effectively preempted local governmental entities like the city from prohibiting the use of the public right-of-way by telecommunication providers for telecommunication services, specifically small cell facilities. There are a few options that local government has under that law, and so we have in the past about six or 7 months ago, the City Council granted franchises to two providers. One was Extenet, the other one was Crown Castle, to use the public right-of-way for the permitted small cell network purposes, as outlined in the Deployment Act. Last fall, the master license agreement, which effectively puts into effect the franchise granted under the franchise ordinance, was granted to Extenet, and now Crown Castle is coming in for their similar master license agreement, which is being granted on the same basis as was previously granted to Extenet. So the purpose of this ordinance is to simply authorize the city to enter into that master license agreement with Crown Castle Fiber LLC.
Thank you, Shane. Any questions or discussion?
No, although I might believe what Mr. Halbeck requested was a map of all these current cell tower locations. That I agree. I'd be interested in seeing that.
And keep track as they're being installed. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yep. And just so the public knows, our hands are tied on these types of cell tower agreements. We negotiate every bit that we can, but pretty much we have to approve them.
I'm a little leery of small cells and how many there might actually come out, but
You're very wise.
unfortunately, we have.
How many providers will there ever be, all of which have the right to use our right-of-way to install as many small cell towers as they
Concerning
like?
That's out of our hands.
Well, there is a permitting process, and we have some review requirements, and we'll do whatever we can to keep those aesthetically as possible. I think the only ones that recently been installed is down near Target. Mike, they look like light poles.
Yeah, I think we've seen 6 total installed.
Yeah.
Most of them are in that Union Park area. The ones we've seen are not tall as they're allowed to go. They're shorter than that, and generally, aesthetically, they look like the city's light poles.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just say, if you ever want to see something interesting, go online, do a search on Google for small cell towers images, and you'll be astounded. Some of them fit right in; they're aesthetically pleasing. Other ones, not so much.
Like the one at Bella Vista Elementary School in the middle of the green space that looks like a.
That one's not small.
It's not small.
That's a macro tower, yeah.
That one is, Mike Johnson, I'm sorry, I don't know if you the small cell towers support 5G?
That's a good question. I don't know about the supporting the technology. I believe it does, but the overall intent that we've heard from providers is people are needing more coverage in more places. So these are shorter range, shorter vicinity, but they are more often, so they provide that continuous coverage, where a large monopole provides a coverage in a wider area, but there are still gaps in that network.
I was actually alarmed when I was reading a month ago or so that the range on a 5G tower is significantly more local than it is with 4G, 3G, the larger poles, and so I just kind of wondered if that was.
Yeah, and from what we've heard from the providers that we've worked with is these small cell, they are lower, they have a capacity for a little shorter coverage, but they're focused in kind of the high activity areas where there are a lot of people. So commercial activity centers, gathering places. I think they're popular around sports stadiums and places like that.
They take the signal, as I understand it, from the macro towers and amplify it between the macro towers to try to increase the coverage and the capacity.
I guess I would say it'd be nice if somebody gave us better coverage right here at this light down the street.
I agree. That's going over the hill. That hill specifically is very bad.
All right, I'd entertain a motion.
For those who didn't hear, that was Mr. Sheldon making an age joke towards me. And something about being over the hill.
Again, I'd entertain a motion to approve consideration ordinance of 325.
Move that we approve ordinance 325.
Moved by Councilmember, what's your name, Bracken? We have a second.
What was this morning?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shelton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bruce.
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken.
Yes.
Councilmember Michael.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. The next item of business is Resolution 2019-2029. If I got the right one. Oh, it says 19 on here. Okay. It's authorizing and directing registration with Utah Lieutenant Governor's Office, the City of Cottonwood Heights, as a local government entity. Shane, will you want to introduce that again just real quickly?
Yes, the legislature was busy in its 2018 session. Another thing that it did was enact a law that requires the Lieutenant Governor's Office to create a registry for local government entities, which would include cities, towns, counties, and also limited purpose entities, which would include things like interlocal entities, special service districts, things like that. And it also requires all of those governmental entities to make filings, registrations with the Lieutenant Governor's Office by July 1st, 2019, providing certain information that's specified in the statutes. And so the purpose of this resolution simply is to, for the council to authorize that sort of filing by the city with the Lieutenant Governor's Office.
Is there a penalty associated with not doing it?
Well, since we always try to do things right, I didn't worry about the penalties. But
we suddenly become not a city or something like that?
What does happen is that if you don't file, or if you file incorrectly, why then the Utah State Auditor gets to come after us. So it's up to you folks what you want to do on this.
I think we'll do it. I mean, it just is like.
All right. Thank you, Shane. Any further discussion? Tim?
I would recommend we do it. I don't want to be messing with the auditor's office and that, so.
Will that Tally talk to him? All right. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion for Resolution 2019-29.
I move that we pass Resolution 2019-29.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Michael. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken.
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce.
Yes.
Councilmember Michael.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, the last item of business is approval of the council meeting minutes from the work session business meeting of May 7th, 2019. Have a motion for that, please?
Just one clarification. You got those, there was a couple of things in the initial minutes that did not reflect what I had said, and there was also a typo that I asked Paula to.
So you have the motion including those adjustments.
And then I would guess that, yes, I'll move that we approve the consent calendar with those adjustments.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bracken. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shelton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
It's moved that we adjourn. Somebody want to second it?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Bruce, second by Councilmember Shelton. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
If three of us just